Hi everyone, just got a quick video on just a couple of questions I got asked. One was about this hook, which I held up in a video I did recently, and it's just a wide gate version, and what type of fly would I tie on it. And the other one was, would I tie using the brown bead. Now I'm going to show you a fly pattern. This one here, this is a great fly for throughout the season, stone clinger. Now if you're on the river, you'll see these, if you lift a stone or look at a stone, you'll see these stone clinging type nymphs. They're quite flat, quite a bold thorax area, tapered, and you'll see them shuffling round the stone. But they're very important in the trout diet. The fish feed on them. Very good when the March browns coming off, olives. You'll see these floating by, or the shucks anyway. So it's worth having a fly like this tied. Now you don't have to go quite as, you could just go plain. Some smaller size one, just a hare's ear type fly. Now a question I got asked is, because I'm on tie on the jig hook, it does make sense to put the nymph, like, because it's sitting upside down, to put the colour on the underside, because it sits up like that. But when these flies are drifting, it doesn't really matter where you put it at the top or the bottom. It is easier to tie it like this because you don't need to fiddle around the point. So I would recommend just tying it like that, even though, just to show you, I tied one on the underside, and it's entirely up to yourself. But I'm going to tie it just normal so you can see what it's like. As I say, this hook, this one, I tie them, the two sizes I prefer in this hook are the ones I've bought and used, not the 16s and 18s, and they cover this fly. 16 I'm using here. This nymph, sorry. The nymph is in different sizes depending on what stage of life it is, because they do take a wee while to grow. So, but anyway, the bead I'm using, should maybe show you that, is this one. It's metallic brown, slotted bead, 2.8mm. Again, you could use the 3.2, or you could even, I would probably, in the smaller size, I'm quite happy to use the 2.8 or the 2.4, which balances the fly nice. So what I'm going to do is quickly run the thread down. Now with the wide gape, I like to come round the bend slightly. So I like to increase the length of the body. The fibre I'm going to use to give impression of the tail could be quite a few fibres, but I'm using, these are saddle hackles I have, that's from Whiting. I bought a saddle, it's a fiery ginger, a great colour. These are ones from the top, which are quite dark. So I'm going to use some of these fibres for the tail, and I like quite a few to give the impression of the tail. So just bring them 90 degrees from the feather and tail them away. So I'm going to tie this on, good length in the stone clinger, it's a good length in the tail. You want to just tie it on the top. I'm going to bring the fibres up and come underneath with a turn to lock that in, just to open the fibres. A couple on the top. You see it splays out the fibres. You want movement in the fly. We trim this to the halfway mark, which is there, which gives me the measure for the body, where I'm going to tie in the body. I'm going to bring up to here. It's continuously, the body's works all the way up, but this is where I'm going to tie in the thorax cover. Now for the rib, I'm going to use a brown, this is a UTC wire in small. Don't have to use a, but I like it, and just helps to protect the fly. Now first thing I'm going to do is just tidy things up a bit, and then come back down. Now the blends I'm using are my own blends. Now a very important colour, if you're ever going to dye materials, it doesn't give you an advantage. I'm using vineyard dyes. Now I have some CDC fibre, or CDC feathers, which I've dyed. These were white. Now this is a brown olive. Now brown olive, you can, and if you're using the dye, you can see the colour. I mean, it goes quite light, depending on the colour you're actually dyeing. It can be quite strong colour. It can be much darker. I mean, you could even get as dark a brown as like this, depending on how much dye you put in. So the idea of dyeing your materials is being able to sort of work with how much you put in the dye, when to stop it and lift it out. Now the brown olive is, as I say, is one of my favourite. Now what I've done is I've got some just normal rabbit, a bit of UV flash. Now I've taken the hair off and I've blended it and put it in a packet. There it's there. So basically that's rabbit with a bit of UV in it. Now I've taken some of this, and then to use up the CDC, take away the bottom fibres, leave the tip for a hackle if I'm going to be using it. So just remove it. So never, don't go all the way up, just remove these. You can always keep these for, I use these for soft hackles, a lot of other things. So you're not wasting it. So basically I've got my blend of rabbit, UV and the CDC. So I'm going to lightly mix that through. I mean, I sit and make a lot, so I do. So, but anyway, I'll show you a quick way, just a quick, show you how it's like. If I'm doing a lot, I'll sit down, do a few feathers at the same time. And once you're happy, best to do it over your desk so it doesn't fall on the floor. So once you're happy with the mix, then we can start to dub with it. So we just lightly dub it onto a thread. And then we start at the back. We want a nice, we want to taper up to quite a thick body actually. So you want it quite thick to the centre. You want the profile of this nymph. We drop more. Basically what I'm in line with the point of the hook in this case. We encourage the taper a wee bit, we can trim it so we can. So we got a nice colour. And then we can rib the fly. Nice straight turns, work your way up. So we're only about 5 or 6 turns. Screw it in. Bend and break away your wire. Just tidy this area up. Now we've got the pheasant tail I showed you earlier. Basically dyed. So tear away. I want the thicker part of this pheasant tail. So we take away the tips, catch this on the top. Now if you were tying it upside down you would have to come underneath. But honestly it doesn't matter. Again, just make sure things are sitting right. It's okay. Now I'm going to tie in a partridge feather dyed with the light or the brown olive. But just a tiny bit of dye. This is feathers from the head of the partridge. I keep these wee small feathers for these type of flies. There's a couple of ways. You could wind the hackle through the dubbing or the thorax area, or you could lay it over the top, over the back of the, like a thorax cover. That's why I'll tie it like that because it looks really good and it swims well. So what I've done is I removed the fluff. I'm going to locate the tip of the feather using my hackle pliers. Just draw back. I want now moving these over slightly because I've caught too much. When you're happy with that, we can trim, leave enough to tie it on. Now you're going to tie it in upside down. So just draw back the fibres, come in, catch it so it's right in the top. Try not to catch any of these fibres. I've got one, but I'm fine with just one. Just take your time. Just make sure it's secure. It's on the top. I'm happy with that, just see what it looks like. It's fine. Go back to our dubbing, and don't be shy with your dubbing. I usually like to take my thread towards the bead, so draw everything back and work from the bead up, just to build up the thorax. Just tighten the dubbing when you need to. Yeah. very pronounced thorax in the stone clinger. There's that type of nymph. A wee drop more. See what it's like. And what I'm going to do here is just draw back everything just now, and then just draw down some of the dubbing to leave a nice flat area for bringing over my thorax cover as well as the legs, the partridge. Now I'm happy to draw back, I don't know if you can see that, even these here, these long fibres. But I'd basically draw them back and down. So draw them back and then push the fibres down, hold, come down with 2 or 3 turns. Make sure it's sitting on the top. I'm going to show you this. It's sitting along the top. Now you could put a wee touch of varnish in here, or maybe super glue, just to make sure it doesn't break. So I'm just going to touch it. To be honest with you, I used to when it didn't bother, but just to make sure that doesn't happen, just a wee touch of glue, just into that area. Bring over your thorax cover. Come down a couple of turns. See how it's sitting. I've still got the stem of the feather there. I'm just going to make sure it's tied on. It's fine. Once you've got 2 or 3 in there, we can then trim away the pheasant tail and the waist end of the feather, the partridge feather. Again, we can tidy this area up a wee touch of dubbing. Just at the head area, don't need much. And then wet finish, we just run the varnish onto a thread. That's too much. A couple of turns, or 3 turns, and wet finish. Trim away. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to trim away, keep this a nice shape. Just lift your hackles, fibres away out the way. Trim the underside, so you get that nice shape. Now you can leave it like that, or if you want to sort of darken along the back of the nymph, show the tail, you can use a permanent marker. In this case it's just a brown permanent marker. Start at the head area, and then we can just get that 2-tone colour you see in these nymphs. It does run all the way down. There we are. That's a great nymph, so it is a great pattern. So, especially with the brown bead, it suits this big open hook. It's got a nice shape. So there we are. And the long fibres take them out. So it's a nice fly, simple fly really to tie. You can tie a few of them, but if you don't want to go that far, you could just, the combination of the two, this small one, and if you do want to tie it sort of so that it's like with the underside, you can do exactly the same, but obviously get underneath. But to be honest with you, I found that I'm quite happy just to fish it this way, and it works a treat. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Oh sorry, before I go, if you want, you could put some resin on the top here. I've got some resin, but it's thin stuff I have, and basically I need to build it up. If you want to get a sort of, I'll do it. I'll just put some here. It's just a light resin I've got. You want a sort of a regular. So what I'm going to do here is just to get a more pronounced thorax. So I'll just lightly put it on with the needle, because I don't want it to soak too far down into it. I want to build it up because it's thin. If you had the regular, you wouldn't have this issue. So I'm just going to set the resin. So there we are, that should do it. They say you don't need to use the resin, it's up to yourself. It does add a wee bit to the fly. I mean, it's nice and shiny. You could add a wee bit more on that on it. I'll zoom in so you can actually see it a wee bit better. So there we are. That looks okay. So you don't need to be too fussy. It's entirely up to yourself. You can mess about with the pattern, but this is a great fly. This is a good way of using the brown bead as well. It goes with this pattern. The stone clinger nymphs. I mean, you see them all the time. You feel they're not hard to find if you're on the river. Just look at the stones, or even lift one out. You'll find them. I like to get a nice flat profile here. I'm just going to make sure this is done. Let me fluff a bit of fluff there. And there we go. Could add a wee bit of, I always like to be the resins especially. Oh, look at that fluff. I like to coat them a wee bit of varnish just to finish them off. Just to stops them going that sort of dull way, because they are a bit tacky at times. And just having it so that it's nice and shiny, just allow that to set, and that's it. But as I say, you don't really need to go this far. I mean, you could just have a basic wee nymph just without, still works. Nice pattern, as I say, to use the brown bead up and on that hook as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and again, thanks for watching.